Hey guys, I'm Squall, and welcome back to the channel. This is an intro debut, as you guys already know based on the title and the thumbnail. This is for iceeeyN00B. I just got done with his intro not too long ago. You guys should have already seen it on his channel. If you guys have not subscribed to his channel, I'll put a link down in the description as always. I'm going to try to do this video a little bit differently in that I am going to describe a little bit more about how I make them. Let's go ahead and jump to my desktop and we'll talk more about it. So let me switch here. There we go. Okay, so we are on my desktop. We're looking at all my bloopers here. Sorry, let me close that. Oops. Anyway, here is Cinema 4D. This is where the basic 3D modeling came in. This is where I did all the 3D modeling for the intro. So just kind of let me drag this back to the start line. The intro starts pretty close up. It'll drag down, and you guys kind of I'll show the whole thing, but I wanted to kind of show this this process. So basically, I have a floor, I have a background, I have to have an overhead softbox, which is what is used to provide light for the video. So let me get out of the camera here. Come on. Okay, so this was the ice pick. I was working on the ice pick last in this scene, or in this part of the video. Let me zoom out here. Let's get all the way out here. So this is the softbox you're looking at. There's actually going to be two softboxes, the overhead softbox and then kind of a front softbox to provide from some front lighting. And then you can see some of these objects are actually in the scene, but they're not visible until you get really close up. So that's basically how an intro works. You know, you kind of play through it, and as you move along, the things come into place, and you know, things become visual. You can add things like compositing tags where you can actually animate when it's seen by the camera over here and things like that. So you have the floor, the background, the overhead softbox, you have the front softbox, and then this is going to be the connect object, which has all the letters in it, each singly put together. So like, for example, I have the I, and you know, it breaks down into these kind of hierarchies, and you can animate them based on each letter. Each letter is animated a little bit differently, so I have to have different items in each one, delays for bouncing and things like that. So that's basically Cinema 4D. This is the ice, which is actually like kind of like a hair material, but you can animate it to look just about however you want it to look. And then I did a little bit of animation with Espresso. So if you don't know what Espresso is, it's this kind of mapper here where you can decide, you know, what happens and when. There's so much in Espresso that you know, I couldn't go over half of it. But anyway, it was fun doing this, and I had a lot of fun with this intro. The next part is this is actually the second part. So the first part, really, a lot of times I develop intros around audio. Sometimes I don't, but a lot of times you know, I find audio that I like or that the customer likes, and I develop it around that. He already had a sound which he used quite often. Now let me open up some of these other. So let's close that. Let's see, intro audio. So let's start off with this guy here. So I think this is the guy here. Yep, this is the guy here. So basically, this is a Vegas file, and I've brought in different audios just to kind of start testing. His original audio is this guy here, so I'm going to go ahead and play through that for a second. So you got some intro there, or some audio there. Here's some more of it. And that's going to sound familiar because that is actually in the intro itself. And then let me kind of mute some of this stuff. And what's this one down here? I can't remember what this is. This is probably just a piece of something I took out. But basically what I do is I cut up pieces of the audio, and I find out what pieces work best together. I have to match up the beats, the downbeats, all those kind of things. I have to match all that stuff up and come up with an audio that I like. So the first thing I knew is I wanted to get in a robotic voice that matched the one in the original audio. So here's the original audio. So I wanted to incorporate that into the intro. It's part of the audio. It doesn't line up exactly where it is on this one, but it is part of the audio, and I wanted to include that. So let's go ahead and mute that, and let's bring up some pieces of the intro. So this is 3 different portions of that same song. It's easy to match up downbeats and things like that if you can have 3 different portions. So let's go ahead and play that. Okay, so what you seen there was the end of the robotic voice. I wanted to keep that because that's something I don't have to work on. If I can match the robotic voice to that and then just kind of sync it up, then that kind of creates a lot easier setup for me when it comes to finishing off the audio. So then what I needed to do is I needed to find a background music, because I can record my voice and change it and add effects to it to make it sound robotic. So what I did was I then found some background audio that would nicely line up for the intro, but I also had to have it kind of sync up with this audio up here. So here's that. Okay, so it's very subtle, and you can hear that there's some change, but once I get in there and I change some things, then we can end up. So let's go ahead and go to the other audio file, which is this guy. So this is more of a finished product. This is the finished product. So what I've done is I've taken that original file, I've kind of faded it in, I've matched it up with some of these audios. Here's the robotic voice. Here's, I believe, the original robotic voice. So let's go ahead and mute some of these. I can never remember until I go back in and I play it. So let's go ahead and do that. Yep. So there's the original robotic voice. Now let's listen to the new robotic voice.
This is iceeeyN00B.
Now it doesn't match up exactly, of course, but it gave me a starting point, and that's what I did. I recorded my voice, I edited the sound so that it sounded robotic, and then we have a place to start with. So then we add in the background noise that I wanted a part of it.
This is iceeeyN00B.
Okay, and then we have to match it up to the downbeats, and you get this.
This is iceeeyN00B.
And there you go. And there you go, sorry. And there you go, you got a finished audio product. Now let's go ahead and play it from, the start all the way to the finish.
This is iceeeyN00B.
So that's the finished audio. Once I came up with that, I was ready to start working on the intro, because for me, it's important to match up the intro to the sounds that are going on, to have everything flow really nicely, have all the animations flow really nicely. So then I jump into Cinema 4D and I start looking at frames. So like on here, I can match up what frame happens when, and then I can match that up on Cinema 4D where each object should lie as it's animating. So once I get done with that, I have then kind of a finished 3D animation. So then I got to start adding effects and also kind of changing things and adding sound effects, things like that. So then I jump into After Effects again. So this is what this final Vegas file is. So this is the final audio with the animation, and then kind of a post. What I do is I'll render up about 70, in this case about 60%. So the animation happens in the first 60% of the video, and then from there I don't need to render the last frame because it's the same frame over and over and over again. So then I just take a screenshot of the last frame and I stretch it out to match. So that's where you end up with this guy.
This is iceeeyN00B.
So that is pretty close. A lot of people would say, hey, that looks good to me. So what we're going to do is we're going to jump into After Effects, and this is where I add in some more simple effects. So I'm going to kind of drag this along so you guys can kind of see. Now, one thing you can't tell is I have added a adjustment layer for blur, which I've already created. I've created it a million times. I use it in a lot of my video files. It just kind of adds kind of a motion blur to the scene so that as it goes, you don't have the issue. It looks more realistic and natural. And so that was actually created in my first Redneck intro. So I always use Redneck's kind of first intro as a basis of kind of adding some adjustment layers. They're adjustment layers that I built originally. I don't need to rebuild them. I just keep using them. So that's where I get those. But then there's some other effects that I add. So for example, that smoke effect you see coming in, okay? I've added that, and then I've added in another smoke layer to kind of give it some give it that frosted look, okay? So that's what you're seeing here in, let's go into this final right here. So that's what you're seeing here. This is all just smoke, all this layering, and I've kind of froze things up a little bit because I've got so many things open. So let me give it a second. Oh, I think we crashed. Nope. Okay, we're good. Don't know what was going on there. In fact, let me close Cinema 4D. No, I don't. And then let's go ahead and jump in there. For some reason, Cinema 4D has a bug that it just won't end that task. So There we go. Okay, so Cinema 4D is closed, and let's go ahead and close a couple of these. Sorry, no I don't. And one more. That way we can just have more room to play, because After Effects is a hog when it comes to RAM and everything else. But anyway, so what you're seeing here, and it's trying to pre-render it, is you're seeing smoke files that they've already been pre-keyed, and I can add in, and then as I add them in, you'll see that I also have to add in masks. So like in, I believe it's going to be Wisp 9 as you're going to see the most. Yep. So here I actually have an animated mask to kind of have it animate on as it comes along. So that's the next step. The smoke coming on. Well, then we have the text, which the text is super easy. I just throw in a text, I animate it on the strong beats. So whenever you see a twitch, that's what I use to kind of animate between text. So there's when the first text comes on, which is on that first beat. The second beat is where I if you really look closely, that's what I use to switch the transition. So it's not as noticeable of a transition between text. And I also use some audio waves to find out when to put on the effects here, the little stripes. And that's another pre-comp. It's just stripe layers that I animated on based on where I wanted them. So pretty simple there. Well, I mean, it's simple to me. It's simple to a lot of people that do this kind of thing. But it's something that I enjoy doing and have a lot of fun doing. So anyway, there is the last, like, I'd say 90%. Once I'm here, I'm 90%. I could technically take this. I would actually feel comfortable handing this over. But I'm kind of a perfectionist in the sense that I kind of want to add a little bit more. I want to add a couple of subtle things. Sorry, I'm checking if my audio is still on my headset. I want to add a couple of subtle things. So then what I'll do is I'll go back into After Effects and let me go into here. That's the wrong one. Let's go into intro file. So the next thing I would do is I'm going to go to render here. Final. Okay, so here you see final and then post After Effects. So this is the very last step that I have. So I'm going to go ahead and open that up, and I'm going to go ahead and close After Effects so that we don't hog everything there. And so here is the last step. So this file, let me mute these real quick. This file right here is what I've talked about so far. It's the first audio file that we created. It is the first rendered 3D animation from Cinema 4D, and then it is then brought into Vegas once again, and then we've taken it into After Effects to add in smoke and wisp and text. So let's see here. Text here, sorry about that. Some text here and the lines that you guys seen, all that's done. Now the last step is the step that I think adds some of the most, which is adding in some sound effects for beats and things like that. Now the sound effect in itself may not sound perfect by itself, but once you layer it in with other audio sounds, you get a lot better sound effect at the end. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to show you as the ice pick hits the sea. So it doesn't really sound like an ice pick hitting the sea. It's finding the right sound that will layer nicely with the audio. So let's go ahead and listen to that with the audio. So I know you probably didn't tell, but let's listen to it without the audio, or without the wisp. So there's with it, or without it, and here's with it. It's very subtle. It's super subtle, but it adds to it, and I think that kind of sets some of mine apart. So let's go ahead and go to the next sound effect, which is this guy here. So I'm going to go ahead and turn this off and turn this back on and turn the audio off so you can hear it by itself. So here's by itself. So there's the next part. There's kind of the bass to the hit. Now let's hear it with the music. Super subtle, but it's there. And then let's add in that other piece. So just enough, that click, that tink, that kind of almost glass hitting glass sound. And then one more sound effect, which is the ice animation effect, which kind of it's even more subtle, but you can hear it if you listen closely, and it adds just a little bit. And then that, and it's also doesn't sound right by itself, but it sounds good once it's layered in. So let's go ahead and listen to that. So let's add everything back in. And let's play the final intro.
This is Iceee.
And then before we finish completely up, let's go ahead and play it full screen so you guys can get a check. So here's the actual full debut of the intro right now.
This is Iceee. This is Iceee.
So I have that set to replay every time. I literally watch intros that I make over and over and over again because I want to look for every little piece that I've missed. So I'm going to go ahead and switch to full screen over here again. So that was the intro, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this kind of change of how I make these intro debuts. I wanted to give more information about the process that goes into making these intros. This one was possibly one of the more difficult intros, but one of the more fun intros. I learned a lot of new things in it and had a lot of fun making it. I hope you like it, Wyatt. I'll put a link in the description to his Twitter, his Facebook, all that fun jazz. Or not Facebook, his YouTube. Anyway, guys, that's it for the intro debut this time. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you enjoyed this style, make sure you thumbs up and comment down below. And I'll see you guys next time.